Hey everyone, Luke here, and what can we say? This is it, guys. For better or for worse, the promised Neverland has finally come to an end, and what can I say? It's been quite the ride, especially for me. Really, this series will hold a special place in my heart, and I know that's kind of cheesy to say, but it's true. This series has brought me so many great memories, has re-energized my love for doing videos on YouTube, which was going stale around the time Promised Neverland started, and also made me become more active in the community, doing talking with some big names in the anime and manga community like Kid Otaku, and also introduced me to another fan base, the Control Chaos fan base, where I do a lot on there with the Control Chaos fan base. So like I said, if you want to subscribe to any fan base, go and subscribe to us, because like I said in the last video, I'm a mod on there. I do a lot of interactions with the fans, and with the main three guys as well, Red, David and Furman. So yeah, if it wasn't for the Promised Neverland, I wouldn't be doing any of the stuff that I wouldn't be doing today. But right now I'm going to be doing a complete retrospective on the series itself, where I started reading it, how I kept going with it after all this time, after all the bullshit moments that happened, and also as well I'll probably talk about some of my favourite moments as well. Alright, so I first started reading The Promised Neverland back in 2016. Very first day the first chapter dropped. Actually, it's the first ever manga that has ever happened for me, and pretty much the first ever series that's ever happened for me, where I've had the first exposure to this world, like the first ever thing that's of this world that's been exposed to our world. I've been there on the first day, and I've stuck by it right through to the end. Dr. Stone and We Neverland, they're the three that have done that so far, like that are long running essentially. I mean, there are other series like Ayakashi Triangle and Time Paradox Ghostwriter, which are both very new, and Time Paradox Ghostwriter, don't know whether that's going to last, or I hope it lasts, but don't know if that's going to last or it's on its way out. But yeah, Promised Neverland was the first. It was the first, and you never forget your first. So yeah, it dropped on the very first chapter dropped on Manga Stream. We all remember Manga Stream, don't we? And in case you're wondering, it is gone. Manga Stream is dead. It's been dead for months now, and I've been reading the chapters on the official Fizz app, which you guys should as well, if you can, obviously. But it's relatively cheap, and you get backlogged to pretty much all the manga that are being run in Shonen Jump at the moment. But yeah, I think the first thing that we've got to talk about, I have the volumes right here. I think the first thing we've got to talk about why it struck a chord so much with audience is let me get to the point, is this part right here, because I believe this part with Connie's dead body, I think that was the first time something like that had ever dropped in Jump, and I can't believe they still, to this day, I can't believe they were actually able to get away with this and tell the story in the way that they wanted to do in this moment, because Jump at that point in time, from what I've heard, was kind of like in a kind of like living in the past type thing, and there weren't really any series that were kind of pushing the boundaries, and Promised Neverland was the first in a long time to actually come along and push the boundaries and show, like, no, this type of storytelling can be popular. And sure enough, it became one of the breakout hits of Jump in the last few years, alongside Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia and Chainsaw Man. And yeah, Chainsaw Man, even to this day, I'm like, you thought Promised Neverland was surprising. I still can't believe Chainsaw Man is being run in Shonen Jump, because that series is borderline on saying, like, it's pretty much the only 18 rated series in Shonen Jump at the moment. But yeah, I'm not talking about Chainsaw Man, still talking about Promised Neverland. But yeah, as soon as I saw that chapter, I was immediately hooked, and I said to my friend Sid, who was in some of my earlier Promised Neverland reviews, which I'm going to talk about in length as well, I said, you've got to check out this, and sure enough, he got hooked as well, and we kept on talking for a while, talking about where we thought the series was going to go, like who our favourite characters were, which for the record I will say right now my favourite character in the series is Emma. I know she's not the most developed of characters and there are problems with her, which when I do an Emma discussion video I will go into completely great length with her character. But yeah, she's my favourite character. I just loved her interactions with Ray and Norman at the beginning of the series, and I loved how dark she could get at the beginning of the series, which didn't really come out more after Grace Fieldhouse, after the escape. But just those dark moments and just having the pleasure of seeing those dark moments really put a smile on my face and thought like, wow, we have a protagonist that's not only female but also having balls to actually push some of the boundaries and show like, holy shit, a shonen protagonist can be more than just good two shows, even though that's what Emma became in the end. But I still liked her character a lot, and I still wanted to see where the story was actually going to go after that point. And yeah, there is a point that I will make with the series of why I actually like it, but we'll get into that later. And also as well, in case you're wondering what my other favourite characters are, they're Ray, Isabella, Lewis and Hugo. I love those guys, and it was sad to see Hugo and Isabella lose their lives, even though I kind of had a feeling that they were going to lose their lives, because when they did die, their stories were pretty much completed at that point and there was no reason to keep them around. And I'm really glad that they actually had the forefront to go through it and actually kill off both Hugo and Isabella. But anyway, that's something that's going to come later. I loved at the beginning of the series when it started how we had the twist with Isabella, which I'll get right here. Let's see. Which I loved that twist of Isabella actually being revealed to be food herself and actually giving more credence and motivation to why she is doing what she is doing. But yeah. So when I first started seeing the series, I thought like, right, this is something that I can actually get into, and I can actually get on camera and discuss out front. So that's what I started doing. I started my reviews of the first arc of the series, which started off slow. I mean, the earlier ones, looking back, they weren't very good. Like the first, I'd say, 10 reviews I did, that wasn't very good because I was still trying to find my feet, and eventually I did find a right structure to go on. Like I started creating personas for myself, because at the time I was a massive fan of Tekken and the way he created his personas. I thought like I could do something similar to this, so I created like Shadow Lasher and Berserk Lasher as kind of like dark alternate versions of myself. But after a while I kind of like thought like, this isn't really the way I want to do things. Even though I kept it going for the majority of the first arc, I felt like this isn't. During that time, I felt like this isn't working out for me as an individual of the way I wanted to express myself, because I wanted to not be like a different persona in a sense on camera. I wanted to be more of an exaggerated version of myself, but still be myself, if that makes any sense to you guys. So yeah, when it started writing down the first arc, I was thinking like maybe I shouldn't be using these characters more, and I was planning on retiring them at some point eventually, before we got into some major issues. But before we get into the main story of like why Promised Neverland holds such a special place in my heart, and not only Promised Neverland but also We Never Learn and Dr. Stone as well, which is why Dr. Stone is the series that is going to be replacing Promised Neverland, because it has become my favourite series, my favourite manga series at this point. I'm sorry, Promised Neverland, you're awesome in my book, but Dr. Stone did things that just put a smile on my face. But yeah, before we get into talking about why Promised Neverland holds such a great deal of pleasure and such a big place in my heart. Yeah, sorry, I froze for a second there on the trying to find my words, guys. I still have trouble trying to get my words out, because before I was working off a script when I was doing the earlier ones, and now I just say it as it hits, say it as it goes, because I feel like for me that becomes a lot more natural, and it allows me to again express myself in the way that's me, because I do repeat myself countless times, even when I'm not on camera, even in real life I still repeat myself time and time again. So yeah, it's just me being me. So me just going raw off script, generally talking about what I feel is necessary to be talking about with the chapters. I feel like that's the best for me. So that's kind of like where I went when I brought the series back. But yeah, after the first major arc ended, I was gearing up to do like, okay, we're going into a new arc now, and then the copyright strikes happened. If you've ever done anime or manga related things, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, Shueisha saw my videos and saw that I was using way too many of the panels, which, looking back, yes, I was. I'll admit I was using too many of the panels, and it was a structure that I felt comfortable with at the time. But yeah, looking back, it really wasn't the right way to go. And sure enough, one strike, two strike, and then I was like, right, I need to take these down right away. So I took them down. I made a quick video to explain what was happening. I was trying to figure out where I would go from here. Like I was trying to do them at first without using any panels and just looking off the actual laptop, phone, whatever I had at the time. But at that time, I wasn't really in my groove. Doing it without the panels, and it kind of took me a while to actually get that manifested. And then the major event happened. Alright guys, so around March of 2017, which was around the time when the Promised Forest arc was happening, when all the kids were like going around that forest, and that's when we first meet Songju and Musica in the series. Things took a really dark turn in my life, to be serious now for a few moments. That this story I've kept to myself a long time. I don't like sharing this story. Don't like sharing the story at all. I'm being 100% serious here, and you want to know how serious I'm being? You can see that that's a police report there. Now, just a heads up, I'm the victim in this case. This is a police report that I filed against two people. Basically what happened, guys, was when I was living away from my family, I had two people who, I'm just going to call them by their genders, him and her. They have no right being given any name, but basically they used to be good friends of mine, like really good friends, like proper good friends, that after finishing university I decided I wanted to stay in Worcester, stay down there, to kind of like make a life for myself. And I moved into this house with various different people, two of them being him and her, which they are partners in crime in this case, quite literally. And we got on super well. I got to know them, got to know their families, and got to even spend time with their kids as well, and be kind of like a big brother, big uncle to those two kids. Now the kids, they have nothing to do with this. They're just as much a victim as me in this. So yeah, basically we were friends for years and years and years, and then they just do this out of the blue, where basically at first it started off alright. I lent them money. That's basically what it boils down to. I lent them money. Now at first they asked me for just a small amount. I'm not going to say how small, but it is a small amount, guys. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. okay, it was a small amount, and then it just kept getting larger and larger and larger and larger, to the point that they took everything from me. I even had to sell some of my manga, a lot of my DVDs and everything, and I succumbed to depression at that point, because every single day they were asking for more and more and more and making up some bullshit reasons, and I'm more upset at myself that I actually let it go as far as I did. And to this day I keep thinking, if I had a time machine, I would want to go back in time and slap myself for doing this. Eventually it got to a point where I was in need of asking people for money to get me out of this situation. Now I've paid everyone back. That's something that I can be clear on. I've paid everyone back that I've loaned money off. But eventually one of my friends from university had to sit me down and say, you need to tell your mother about what's going on right now. And I actually did listen at that point. I thought about it and I was like, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and tell my mother I did. And the very next day after telling her that, she and my dad were just down there, like drove 2.5 hours down to see me and help me out. And we, like I said, we went to the police station, filed a police report, and actually got them arrested and investigated for what is called action fraud. Basically, that's basically the crime that was issued against them for what they did, and we managed to get a restraining order from them, so they are not allowed to even contact me. They are not allowed to contact me. So yeah, now what does this have to do with Promised Neverland and Dr. Stone and We Never Learn? Well, basically it got to a point where I wasn't eating well. I was only down to like eating chicken legs, basically. Pre-made chicken legs. That's how bad it actually got. And I was very near the end. I was very close to ending it, like just completely committing suicide, basically. Like basically committing suicide. And I know it's not a topic that a lot of people like to talk about, but it is important because that's the kind of mindset I was in at the moment. And Dr. Stone, We Never Learn, and of course Promised Neverland helped me through that. Basically, every time I felt like thinking, I want to end this, I would just look at one of the volumes and think, no, I want to see how these stories are going to end more. So, like I said to David and Red, and basically anyone who asked me about this, these series saved my life. I generally believe if these stories hadn't been made, I generally believe I would not be here, like physically wouldn't be here. And I can't thank them. If you ever want to see Luke cry on camera, like this is the video you see him crying on camera. But yeah, I generally believe that these series saved my life. And when people ask me like, how can you ever like Promised Neverland after the road it went down, it's like, to that I say I don't care. Even it could have been, Emma could have turned into the Terminator for all I care, and I would have still come out and said that I would have that I'd still liked it, because you guys have no idea, like, just like, you can see me right now, like, look, proper tears, you can see them there, like proper tears streaming down my face, to know that I am not bullshitting when I tell this story. Like, this is 100% serious, and I really was in a bad place. And like I said, I genuinely believe that Promised Neverland, We Never Learn, Dr. Stone saved my life. So no matter what anyone says about those series, I am genuinely thankful for everything that I've done, not just in what they've done for me on YouTube, but also what they've done for me personally. And hopefully you guys can understand where I'm actually coming from here. And yeah, that's the story of why I generally like Promised Neverland, despite the fact it went in places, even I admit, that were bullshit places, and I will talk about the bullshit places that it went to in a moment, and I will talk about the ending as we go along as well, and how I think it could have been improved. But yeah, suffice to say, Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone and We Never Learn generally saved my life, and no one can ever convince me otherwise that they are bad series, because I generally cannot see them as bad series, and there's always going to be one fan of any series, regardless of how crappy it is. And yeah, guys, that's the story I wanted to tell you guys. Sorry it got a bit serious there, and it got a bit dark at that moment, but I needed to get the story out. I've held it in for so long, and I've kept it to myself for so long, and I'm getting better at actually telling the story. I thought, like, if I got on camera and actually explained what actually happened, why I wasn't doing the reviews during the Promised Forest arc and the Search for William Minerva arc, why I wasn't doing reviews then, maybe that would maybe this will give you an insight. And also, this was also, that event was the catalyst, like it was the final nail in the coffin that for maybe I should come back to Manchester and come back to my to my family back in the family house, and sure enough I did. Like, it was generally the catalyst that was like, yeah, this is the end for me. I need to go back and be with my family, and I did, and here we are. Like, we got, like I said in the last video, we got the basement converted into me. It's taken 2 years for that to actually come to fruition, but now it's finally here. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing a massive room tour, talking about everything as well. What the changes were, what's different now, and yeah, it's going to be my permanent, like, bedroom, working on my videos as well. And yeah, like I said, thankful for this series, but also thankful for my friends and my family for sticking through me in such a dark time. And in case you're wondering, my mother at the time, rightfully so, she was furious at me, but at the same time she said, you've got to put it down to experience, Luke, and you've got to realise that don't make yourself vulnerable to others as well, because they can take advantage of you. And she was right, and I'm forever grateful for my mother for that. Oh, and one more thing before I move on to talking about, like, how I actually got back into talking about the reviews, is that a lot of people ask me whenever I've told this story to people before that, why did you let it go on for so long? And to that, I don't have an answer. I really don't have an answer, and I beat myself over the head almost every night. I think about it, like, why did I let it go as far as I did? I just don't have an answer for that, guys. But you want to know how serious it actually got at times. Like, okay, one time I didn't have my seatbelt on in his car, and he was threatening to take me to court because I didn't have my seatbelt on, even though it's his car that it's under. So yeah, he was basically manipulating me. That was basically what he was doing, manipulating me and making it seem like I was the one to blame, when in actuality it wasn't. It was him. Him and her were the people that were to blame. And like I said, if I could go back in time and prevent me from meeting them too, I would so do that. So yeah, that's all. That's basically the whole story that I'm gonna tell as much as I can, because obviously I don't want to go into, like, too much of the details, like exactly how much they took from me, but just so you can say it was a lot, and it was everything that they took from me. Like, they basically took away my sense of joy around the time, and to the point that Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone and We Never Learn were the only ones that were actually giving me any sense of joy. So yeah, that's how serious it got. That's all I'm going to talk about. That's all I think you guys need to know about the situation. So yeah, like I said, if anyone asks me why Promised Neverland, We Never Learn, Dr. Stone, why I love those series so much, that's the actual reason. And I'll probably tell the story again when I do a Dr. Stone retrospective, when that series ends, whenever that will be. But yeah, for now, we can get back. The dark stuff is lifted now. Like, the dark, like, I've kind of moved on from that moment in my time. Like as you saw with like, I think the best manifestation of it is when Eri in My Hero Academia, when she had Chisaki still like her cloud over her, and like at the concert she was able to free herself. At this moment in time, like in 2019, 2020, even though it's a bad year for us at the moment, but I feel like at this moment the darkest moment of my life has finally been lifted, like 2018, 2019 and 2020, because all of that happened in 2017. And people often say like, what's the worst year of your life? 2017 was the worst year of my life, but the cloud has finally been lifted and I can finally move on with my life now that I can finally talk about the story as much as what I feel like, and I think you guys feel like needs to be told. So yeah, that's the darkest moment in my life that was saved thanks to 3 manga series that may be insufficient for some, but are very important for me. Now, as for the bullshit moments in The Promised Neverland, the first bullshit moment that I feel like I found was at the end of Gracefield House, where I think everyone can universally agree that this was a bullshit moment. It was the moment when Ray was about to commit suicide, and you have hold on one second, guys. Alright, sorry guys, I need to go and get the volume itself. But yeah, the first bullshit moment is this moment right here with Ray, how he drops the match and it looks as though he's committed suicide, but as it turns out, nope, he didn't. And okay, that was a cheap cop-out moment, and I can only think of a few reasons why that happened. First of all, I honestly believe that they were probably thinking about killing Rayoff, because I think at that point, like, I think what was happening was that the writer of the series only had it up to when Gracefield House escaped. I feel like the series was meant to end when it escaped, and I feel like if that was the case, Ray dying would have made sense because it would have been the end of the series. But it got so popular that they couldn't think of a way to kill Rayoff right at the beginning, or something like that. But here's the thing I think of how they could have handled it better is like, because I've started doing writing as well. As you guys know, I've written my book, which when I do my sit down and talk segments, I'm probably going to be talking in length about the book, about what inspired it and and how the development actually came along. But yeah, suffice to say, I created the first book, and it was only originally intended to be a one book. But then after a while, I thought like, maybe I can make this into a trilogy. So then I started to come up with other ideas. So like, okay, I had the end point there. So like, if anybody wanted to stop at the first one, that's fine, and they can. But if they wanted to continue on, they would have second and third one. So I started to think like, okay, what events could happen that would make it make sense? And then I thought like, okay, second one, spoiler alert, one of the 3 leads in the second one, in my trilogy, one of the 3 leads is going to die at the end of the second one. I'm not going to say who it is if people are reading the books, or the first one, if they've bought it on Amazon. But yeah, one of the 3 leading characters of the series is going to die, and then the third book is going to be dealing with the consequences of their death, basically. So yeah, that's what I thought. That's the way I structured it, and I feel like with Ray, they really didn't have a clear outing of like, okay, well, if we're going to continue the series, we can't kill him off now, but then I don't really know what we could do with him. And this is how I thought they could have done it. They could have killed Ray off and had Don take his place. Don take his place as like the primary protagonist from that point moving forward. And not only that, Gilda could have stepped in as well as like a replacement for Norman. So like they could have been her, Emma, and Gilda, Don, and Emma could have like been like the 3 new leads moving forward from that point, because they were the 5 that pretty much got the most focus throughout the first arc. And to have Don and Gilda come into their own as like main protagonists after that point, that would have been great for their character. But nope, we didn't get that, and it's a shame as well, because that could have led to some interesting interactions, like Don feeling like he's not as strong as Ray or Norman, and Gilda trying to be like the mediator between Emma and Don, and always getting like pushed aside. There could have been so much that they could have gone with, and I feel like as evidence, if you see like the Promised Forest, it really feels like as though they were thinking like, right, we're gonna kill Rayoff and Don and Gilda are gonna like take their place as like that central trio. But they were kind of like, I feel like they're kind of like fighting with the editors to like keep Ray as relevant as possible. But who knows. But yeah, that's the first bullshit moment that I wanted to call out the series on, and to this day I've still not forgiven it. Like, I even did a 2 minute just like no, just going no for 2.5 minutes when it was like, oh, Ray's alive? No, they cannot do that. So yeah, even though it's one of my favourite series, I can still call it out when it needs to be called out. But I think the moment that really re-energised my love for this series was these 3 volumes, which encompass the majority of the Goldie Pond arc. So if you guys want to know what my favourite arc in the series is, it's the Goldie Pond arc, and eventually I'm going to make a video explaining why I believe the Goldie Pond arc isn't as bad as people make it out to be, because I feel like it encompasses many of the different aspects that the series had that the series was strong at this point. It had decently paced action pieces at that point in the series, even though they weren't as elaborate as other series. For a series of this caliber, which is not really an action series in the sense, it still was able to encapsulate greatly, but also the tacticality as well that was present throughout the majority of the Gracefield House arc. I feel like that the 2 elements just kind of bonded and merged together at that point, and we got the awesomeness that was Archduke Louis, or Grand Duke Louis, however you want to pronounce it. And like I said, his fight is still one of my favourites of all time. I did an entire video way back when, after the fight had concluded, explain my reasonings why, so you can go and see that. But yeah, essentially what I love about it is that it wasn't a straight up victory. It was an actual fight that took a long time, and it took like 7 characters to bring them down. If I can remember correctly, Emma, Pepe, Nigel, Violet, Adam, Hugo, and Ray. Like, those 7 people working together was what was needed to take Lewis down, who was a royal at that point. So that kind of like gave us a taste for how difficult the royals, like when we got to the actual royal families, that was going to be. But yeah, and more importantly, I loved the fact that it didn't end in a Deus Ex Machina, even though a lot of people did. No, it didn't, because Emma, even though Emma was stabbed, she still, it was more like her will to like finish this fight and see it through to the end that kind of like gave her the strength to stand back up and just deliver the opening for the others to actually get the killing blow on Lewis. So yeah, Emma gave the opening, but after that she didn't do anything because she immediately passed out. So yeah, Goldie Pond arc was my favourite arc, and I thought like, okay, this is my chance to actually get re-energized and rejuvenated after a long absence of not doing Promised Neverland videos. So what I did was, in preparation for chapter 100, I did videos on all the demons in Goldie Pond and Sondra and Musica, which those videos need updating at some point, and I will be doing updates on them, and Lucas and Hugo as well, obviously, because I did a video on them. I probably need to do a separate video discussing the 2 characters themselves. So yeah, those videos at some point will get updated. But yeah, those videos allow me to re-energise my love for the series and get me back on track, eventually reaching chapter 100. And after that, I kept going until the end at this point. Even though I took breaks, I still reviewed every single chapter from chapter 100 to 181, as evidenced by my YouTube page. Even though some of them were in bunches, I still reviewed each and every one of them, and I was like, I'm committed to this, I'm going to do it no matter what. And yep, I kept through with it, and like I said, we're going to be moving on to Dr. Stone, and I'm going to be committed to doing Dr. Stone right through to the end. Now I want to talk about what happened in Dr. Stone that made it replace Promised Neverland in my eyes. It's one moment right here. Okay, well, it's two moments, if I can actually get to them. They're in Volume 12 of Dr. Stone. So, let's see. Now, one moment that was really breathtaking for me is the moment when Senku brings back electricity for the first time in like 3,700 years, and that's like the intro cover to the Dr. Stone reviews and the Dr. Stone What's the Differences that I did a while back, which they are coming back as well, those What's the Differences. I'm just waiting for Dr. Stone and Promised Neverland to come back, and then we're going to do Dr. Stone, Promised Neverland, and We Neverland back to back like I did the last time. But yeah, basically, this was one of the moments when it's just the reveal of the Perseus, which when I saw that, that took my breath away, and I was like, okay, this is good, but it needs something better. Then they were announcing what crew was going to go on the Perseus. I was like, okay, good, we're getting most of my favourite characters, but we're missing out on my favourite character. And sure enough, let's find it. Also, as well, I just love like the little details, like just going through the ship itself as well. That's a side note. Let's see. Yes, and sure enough, my favourite character in Dr. Stone, Suika, was coming on board, and yep, even after that arc, even when they went back to Ishigami Village, they could have left her behind, but nope, they've brought her on the round the world trip, and she is there to stay till the end of the series, in my opinion. Also, side note, I've always said that when they actually do go to the moon, just the image of Suika in a space helmet with a melon just bouncing on the moon, I would pay good money just for Borichi to just draw that, basically. So please, Borichi, please let Suika go to space. I just want to see that. That's one of the only things that I want to see in this series, just Suika bouncing around on the moon in her melon. I think everyone who's a fan of Dr. Stone will probably want to see that as well. But anyway, suffice to say, that's what put Dr. Stone elevated at both Promised Neverland for me. They were equal for a while, but that's what did it. Now why that moment is because Borichi and Inagaki actually split the cast. Like, okay, this is the cast that's going to be focused on now for the rest of the series. After being introduced to all these characters for the first 100 chapters, we need to narrow down like who's going to get the most focus, and they picked the crew of the Perseus that were going to get the most focus. Whereas with Promised Neverland, even I have to admit, there were too many characters, and it was hard at times to keep track of each and every one of them. Even though I tried my best each time character like remember which one it is. But yeah, it really was a moment of quality of quantity that could have been better. Like when Emma and I feel like they were trying to do that because they were trying to split off the groups to do other things as well. But at the same time, it was very small groups. Like, it's like, really, you're only bringing these two? You couldn't bring another two along so that we could actually get some moments with them? So yeah, sorry, Promised Neverland, but you just had way too many characters to function, basically. So yeah, that's the moment when Dr. Stone took over Promised Neverland for me in terms of my favourite series, because it knew how to balance the characters, and even the characters that don't get a lot of screen time you still remember, whereas Promised Neverland, it's hard to keep track at times of who is who. And now we're going to move on to the other major bullshitty moments, well, the two other major bullshitty moments that I feel like bump the series back down a bit for me. Even though I still like the series, don't get me wrong, I still like the series, I've explained in great detail. But yeah, the moment that really like pissed me off, which is in one of my more recent videos, is when after the fight with the Queen, after the Queen is supposedly killed, she comes back to life, and I was like, no, you cannot do this. You cannot do this. Because I felt like at that point they were just trying to do a major cop out or a major retcon of the royal family has two cores, not just one. They have to destroy both cores for them to actually go down together. Now, looking back, does that make sense? Maybe, because at the end of Gold Pond we only saw Lewis's blood. We didn't see his actual body, unlike all the other demons. So that led me to believe that something is going on with Lewis, even though they've destroyed his core. Something's going on, and I was like, he must have a second call somewhere. And I thought it was going to be the monkey because the monkey had so much emphasis on it. So I really thought that was going to be his second call as well. And even when he was brought back, he was pinching as like, yes, I thought I was dead too. That made me think like, maybe the monkey's his second call. But anyway, that was just one of my bullshit that moments that I felt like, no, you really can't do that. You really can't change an established element of the series that you've established up to this point, and just retcon it at that moment. But I was like, what can you do? And also the other moment as well is, again, bringing Lewis back at the end, even though he did jack shit. Well, no, he didn't do jack shit. I should be fair. Like, he did save Songju and Musica, and he actually showed the citizens like they weren't poisonous and Musica could be the queen. But at the same time, you've got to give him a fight. And I did bring this up in the review. Like, you've got to give Lewis a fight. At least make him have a final test with Emma, Ray, and Norman to see how far they've come. Like, give him another fight, or kill him off, or kill him off completely at that point. Because that's another thing. I'll say this about the ending as well. Like, the final chapter, we didn't see the demon world, so we don't know what the demon world was like 2 years later. All we know is like Emma reunited with family, but she can't remember them. But we never found out exactly what's going on in Demon World, and that's something I think deserves. We deserved at least just 3 pages of just finding out what's going on in Demon World, what Musica's doing, like how the demons are actually functioning now that there are no humans there. At least give us that credit, or at least give us that privilege of finding out exactly what happened in Demon World and not just in Human World. But again, what can you do? You just got to pick your battles at this point. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the anime, and a lot of people are like, Luke, why do you hate the anime so much? What's it doing wrong? I believe I've made it in plain detail. Like I did an entire series of what's the differences. Which, by the way, even though I'm not a massive fan of the anime, I am glad it came along because it allowed me to actually find a new stitch on my channel talking about the differences between the animes and the mangas. Which, if there's some manga on there that I still have yet to read, like there's still some manga on here that I still have yet to read, but if the animes ever came out, or if I ever did see the animes, I would do a what's the difference on them, talking about them. Like, there's some manga that I have read all the way through, and I have seen the anime, but I'll probably have to go back and do and watch them again and read them again to kind of like get a grasp of what's actually going on with those series. So yeah, I'm really thankful for the anime for that. But at the same time, really, 38 chapters in 12 episodes. That is rushed, and guys, that's something I've just got to say. The anime was rushed, basically, and the moment that really pissed it off, that really pushed it over the edge for me, there were 2 moments, and I think I've got them here. It's let me see. I'm gonna find it. Sorry, guys, it's taking so long. It's this moment right here. Basically, I opened up the first episode with, was there any reason to leave this out? With me looking like just angry at it. But yeah, there really was no reason to leave that out of like episode 2 of the anime. Like that could have been like that could have been like an amazing, like, oh shit, even the adults count. Oh, that makes sense. But no, they left out for a filler moment. Let me Yeah. So there was a filler moment here after getting the declaration of Emma and Norman. You cut to the house with Ray in, and just looking very ominous, and that was filler, basically. So yeah, they cut out one of the most important moments of the first arc in favour of a filler episode, and I feel like that's what pissed me off. There's a difference between cutting out stuff for time, and I understand that some things need to be cut, some things should be cut, but at the same time, you don't cut stuff out only to add in your own shit that doesn't have anything to do with the plot, but leaving out important details. And I was worried that they was just going to reveal Chrome's number like it was no big deal, and sure enough, they did. And yeah, that's something that I feel like shouldn't have been happening. I feel like they should have included Isabella's number to get a sense of why she's doing what she's doing and the motivation behind her actions. Also, another thing that I felt really pissed me off as well was they cut out a lot of, like, this moment right here. They cut out a lot of the internal monologue from the series as well. And again, I understand why. I can understand the thought process of, like, okay, we want to cut out the internal monologue because we want to allow the characters to express themselves rather than just thinking it like a show don't tell kind of thing. But I'm sorry, with a series like Promised Neverland, which is more done with mind games, you need to hear what the characters are thinking to kind of get a sense of who they are, and how they're playing the game without letting the other characters know exactly what their motivations are. Kind of like with Death Note. Death Note had, imagine Death Note without any of the internal dialogue. It would be absolutely shit, basically, the Death Note anime. And the problem is that the studio can do it, because I have seen them do it with Kaguya-sama Love is War. So if they can do it for Kaguya-sama's Love is War, which is a series about battles with the mind, why can't they do it with Promised Neverland as well? That's my main gripe. So that's some of the main reasons why I don't like the anime as much. But also as well, I don't know if I have the volume. Do I have the volume? No. I think I've put the volume. Back somewhere. But yeah, essentially the volume when. Essentially the volume when Isabella finds the kids escaped. Hold on a second, guys. I'll see if I can actually find it. Yeah, it's this moment right here. That's another moment that pissed me off from the anime. Now, like I said, even though I'm not a massive fan of the anime, I'm still waiting for the moment when we have the Lewis battle, because that's a battle that's yearning to be animated. And as much as I hate the anime, I can't not wait to see that, and I cannot wait to see that animated, that moment, which hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be able to get up to. Knowing this series track, knowing the anime's track record, they probably will be able to. And another thing that I'll explain in a second. But yeah, basically that moment makes the moment in the anime makes no sense, because Isabella, where is it? It's at the end of volume 4. Let's see. Yeah. In the anime, they still had that moment when Isabella was like going off on a declaration about, this is great, as long as they're alive, I can catch them. But yet, in the anime, Emma doesn't cross the ravine. In the manga, in the anime, Emma doesn't cross the ravine before Mama gets there, and she's like having that moment, please Emma, don't go. So it's kind of like she flips from one, like, I'm gonna capture them alive, to don't, please don't go. And it's kind of like ruins the characterization of that moment, because it was from that moment that Emma actually escaped. That showed, like, yes, Emma and the kids have been able to finally surpass Isabella in terms of wit and smarts, and that's when Isabella gave up at that point, because she was too late to actually stop them from leaving and going out and finding their own way in the world, basically. So that's basically everything that I had to say on the anime of, like, why I hated it. But I keep saying that, but then I have another moment coming up, and it's this one right here. Let me get to it. Alright, so it's chapter 5 just being absolutely cut down to the moment when Chrome appears, and I feel like that is a moment that should have actually been included in the anime, because it showed that even though Isabella's not telling them exactly what's going on with what she's thinking, she's laying on, like, the fact, like, she knows, like, some of the smarter kids, so she's keeping them busy so that they can't actually plan anything. before so that they can't actually escape, and to ensure that they're not going to escape, she's bringing in more outside help to help her out. I feel like just showing the fact that she's making them all work so that they can't actually plan anything shows smarts on Isabella's front, and to actually show that, which again you think the anime would do that, like it would show them like why Isabella's doing all of this, like she's catching on to them, but nope. They decided to just skip all of that whole chapter because they felt like it wasn't important enough. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the final moment that actually pissed me off the most. Well, two final moments. Well, I wouldn't say this moment kind of pissed me off, it's just something that I'm kind of disappointed in. The first moment is not making Hugo be related to Isabella, because I've said this time and time again, they are pretty much the exact same character, had the exact same development, and were very similar to Ray in a lot of ways, so I feel like, again, they probably wanted to include that, but they just didn't have the time or where they could actually fit naturally in the story. So that's something I just wanted to bring up as well. But the other one is Grandma Sarah, which, yes, that's her name, Grandma Sarah. I believe it's in Volume 4. Oh no, it's in Volume 3. But yeah, basically guys, you know Grandma Sarah, who was someone who was like, had her face completely covered. I really thought she was going to be the final villain of the series, because just the fact that they had kind of like a Dr. Claw Violet Osai fight with her, how we're not seeing her face because, okay, it's going to be a big reveal later on. But nope, that just never happened. So, and I did an entire discussion video with Sid on that, talking about that after the first arc concluded. So again, I don't know. Maybe they were going to do something with her, but they just couldn't find, again, the right moment to put it in. But yeah, those are the two months that I'm not really mad about, just a bit disappointed that it didn't go the way I wanted it to. But hey, it's not my story. But I would have definitely done something differently with that. But yeah, now guys, I want to talk about the ending of the series. Now, like I said before, I really think we should have seen what was going on in Demon World, but also I want to talk about like how it could have been differently, because like I said, the ending to The Promised Neverland, it's not a bad ending by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, and also one other thing that I'll say that pissed me off is, I agree with Red, we should have seen more of Human World, and we should have seen more with the Demon World and Demon cultures to get a better understanding of why Emma thinks the way she is about not wanting to kill demons. I really think we should have seen more demon families, but again, what can you do? And I really like that they included Aishi and her father being a demon to show that Emma was right about humans and demons kind of like coexisting together. But yeah, the ending itself, I don't feel is all that bad. Like I said in the review, it kind of gave me a few Full Metal Alchemist vibes from it, the original 2003 series, how with Al losing his memories and the memories being sacrificed, Emma having to do the exact same thing for the sake of her family. But the thing that I feel like could have been different is like, she could have still gone back together with her family. Like, that moment could have still happened, but here's the idea, like, they can see her, but she can't see them. That's the idea I'm going with here. Alright, so she can't remember them, and when the demon god says, you'll never see your family again, he actually means that. So, like when they actually find her in that town, and they're like, Emma, all she can hear them, like, she can hear them very vaguely, like, I hear someone calling out to me, where are you? And they're like, Emma, we're right in front of you, but she can't see them. And when she goes to bed as well, anything related to her family, she forgets about that. That's something that could have actually been better, but also as well, but like I said, the main thing that I feel like could have been improved on the ending was like, Emma cannot see her family, so like they're just there, like blank spaces, and they're like, and she's like, I can't see anything, and what are these voices? They're saying Emma, but I can hear Emma, but who's Emma? Like they're just completely blank voices. So like I said, they can see her, she just can't see them, basically, that kind of thing. And I feel like that would have made it better. And like, if they could still have had all the moments that happened in the final chapter, that could have still happened, but just have it that Emma can't see their faces, and the old guy calls out to us, like, and we finally hear what her new name is, and Ray and Norman are just like sad that like everybody's like blubbering their eyes out, but Ray and Norman are more like accepting of it, like the Emma that we knew is gone, but that's all right. The person that's taken her place over there, they are doing well. At least we know she's alive, and even though she's no longer with us, she's no longer with us mentally, we still know that she is alive physically, and she would want us to actually just move on with our lives, but also keep together as a family, so that nothing of what happened in Demon World has to happen to anyone ever again. And that's where the series could end. Like I said, they could have still had all the moments. Like the ingredients were still there for a good, solid, tragic final chapter. It's just that one element that was missing, with Emma being blind to her family, basically. Like everything else around her is still the same. Like she can still everything else. It's just anything related to her family or anything that related to her from the point of her birth right up till when she made the promise, that is completely blank to her, and she can't see it. So that is how I would have changed the ending. Like I said as well, it's not a bad ending. It just needed that one or extra punch in the guts to make it like, okay, yeah, that ending, I can accept it, basically. And I can still accept to some degree. It's just, I feel like the idea of her seeing her family again and starting anew, I kind of feel like, yeah, I don't think that works as well. But that's just my thing. So yeah, guys, I think that's it. I've really got nothing else to say now. I've pretty much told you guys about how I got into the series, why it's a series that I hold very dear to my heart, and I do still stand by that. But also, Dr. Stone and We Neverland have that distinction as well. Where it went wrong for me, but at the same time, I feel like the positives completely outweigh the negatives. I'd still stand by that, even though there are still bullshit moments that I would agree on. And like I said, there are too many characters that it's hard to keep track of at times. But at the same time, this is a series that I think I will be coming back to at some points in the future. Like I said, there's still characters I wanted to talk about, like Hugo, Isabella. I need to do a video on Isabella as well. I can't not do a video on Isabella. But yeah, at the same time, I want and when the anime does come back, I will be doing the What's the Differences along with We Neverland and Dr. Stone as well. So there will still be, Promise Neverland will still have a place on my channel. That's never gonna go away. But for now, the main series is concluded, and like I said, we're going to be moving on to Dr. Stone next. But tomorrow I'm going to be doing a room tour, basically talking about basically whatever I want in my room. I'm talking about like how it came to fruition and everything. But for now, in terms of Dr. Stone reviews, on Thursday I'm going to be going away for a few days. So, but fortunately the chapters are on break this week again. So maybe next Monday I'll do the recent Dr. Stone chapter and kind of like pick it up from there. So we'll see where it goes, guys. But for now, it's time to put away this chapter, time to put away the Promised Neverland and move on to Dr. Stone. So for the final time in a Promised Neverland video for a while now, this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.